Greetings, everyone. Hope you're well and staying safe. My name is Sanjeev Venkatram, and suffice it to say that I'm a Microsoft technology enthusiast and a community member. And what we'd like to do today is to be able to show you as to how we could extract strings from a column of text, such as the one presented in column B, using what is called as Power Query, which is a fantastic little editor inside of Excel that many people actually don't know about, right? And what we have here is a table within Excel that has got expense as a column and then other attributes that define the expense, such as date, the detail, the expense detail, something along the lines of forecast category, be it either actuals or forecasts or so on and so forth, some details around subsidiary, and then as you can actually see, the currency is embedded along with the cost item, along with the value, right? So what we want to do here is in this expense detail, and if you look at the first line here, it's talking about airfare expense. And towards the end, you actually see an employee ID starting with E as an alphabet, right? It's got 7 characters with E as an alphabet. And the idea here is that we need to extract this employee ID out as a separate column. And as you can see, the employee ID is all over the place within this sentence. You know, it sometimes is in the middle, it's sometimes towards the end, so on and so forth. So it's not consistent. And yet we need to extract the employee ID out. Many such scenarios actually come about depending on the data source that you're actually dealing with. So to do this, what we do is we use women's best friend, Power Query, a wonderful little tool that's actually available within Excel that many people don't know about. And in order to access this Power Query, what we need to do is to click on the Data tab here, and then if you already have a table up here, you could go to what's called as From Table Range, this little icon here, or you could go to Get Data and you could say Launch Power Query Editor right from down below, right? So I could just click on this one and it goes away and launches the Power Query Editor. And you will actually get this editor in which I have preloaded my transaction expense table out here. Now, how would you do this for the first time? Well, you would actually go back up here to the table, and then you click on From Table Range, and then this loads the table into Power Query. Okay, it loads the table into Power Query like so, and creates a separate query on the left hand side here. You see, this is a separate query. Since I already have one up here, it's actually saying this is query 2, right? So once I have this in my Power Query editor, and there's a separate video on what this editor is all about, so we'll not get into that component here. If I were to click on this column up here, what I could do is I could actually add a column up here. I could add an additional column up here. You know, the essential idea is I'm transforming this column. So I could add another column and invoke a custom column, right? Or create a custom column. And then in this custom column, as it comes up, I name this appropriately as employee ID. And in the formula bar, use what is called as M query. I'm not terribly sure what the M in the M query actually stands for. No one's actually be able to find that out yet. But it's a fantastic little, how do you say, formula, right? So what we want to do as an example, if I look at salary for this employee, what we want to do is to first get the range of this, meaning that what is the text here, what is the string, so that is E5, so on and so forth. That is the first thing, right? And it's part of this expense detail column, right? So the text is here. Then what I want to know is the position of the starting point in the string of the employee ID, which is I want to know the position of E, and then finally tell the M query the length of the string that I want to extract. So three things: I want to know where the text is, which is in this expense detail column. The second thing is I want to know where the starting point is of my string, which is basically this letter E. And the third thing is the length of the string. So if I go over to my mQuery syntax here for table range, which is the formula that we're going to be using, it says give me the essential column here, right? And one column is a table as well. Then the offset as a number, and give me the count of the characters that you want from that set of text, right? So this is going to be your expense detail. We'll actually use another formula called text.positionOf in order for us to get the offset, and then finally just enter the number of characters that we need in order for us to get the count of the string that we want to of the employee ID that we want to extract. Okay, so let's actually, enough talk, let's get this on the road. So if I actually say text.range, you see I already see this text.range formula up here. So I take out my initial typed in text. I open up the brackets. Now where is my text? It's actually in expense details, so I'm going to double click on that. Then I want to know the starting point of my employee ID. So there is another formula called text.positionOf. As you can see, the moment I type that through IntelliSense, it gives me the formula up here, text.positionOf. So I literally click on that, and then I open the brackets up here. Well, where is my text? My text is an expense detail, and then comma. It is actually asking me for the starting point of my substring, which is E out here. The fact is that there are some other, entries over here where E is actually at the very beginning as well. As an example, event, right? Event, is at the beginning in one of the entries over here and has a capital E. So it could actually, in addition to getting the employee ID, it could actually get me event. It could get confused and get me event as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually, and any string is presented in double quotation marks. So instead of just E, I'm going to say give me E and the letter 5 here as an identifier, E5. Give me the starting point of E5, right? So then I'll actually close this bracket. So this text.positionOf is actually giving me the position of E5, and the range here will start at the position of E5 and then we'll go for 7 characters, right? So I identify where the Z5 starts and then count 7 characters to get the employee ID, and that's about it, right? So I'm going to close this bracket here. This bracket here closes the bracket for the text.positionOf formula, and the bracket at the end closes the range formula, right? So I'm going to actually click OK here and go over to the end, and lo and behold, we've been able to extract the employee ID from the set of from the column of text, right? As simple as that. And then I actually just turn this into a text column, and you've been able to extract out the employee ID that's all over the place within this text, right? Simple, elegant, and this is how you could leverage the full power of mQuery and women's best friend, Power Query. Thank you so very much, and I trust you found this useful. Cheers.